Imagine a city born from an impossible dream. A place that shouldn't exist, yet stands as one of the most beautiful wonders of the world. This is the story of Venice, a city built on water, courage, and sheer determination. Our story begins not with grandeur, but with fear. In the 5th century, as the Roman Empire crumbled, barbarian invaders swept across the Italian mainland. People fled their homes in terror, searching for any safe haven they could find. Many found their way to a strange, unwelcoming place, the marshy lagoons of the Adriatic Sea. This wasn't a choice of comfort. It was a choice of survival. The swampy, unstable ground and shifting tides made it a terrible place for an army to cross, but an equally terrible place to build a home. These first Venetians were refugees, living in small, scattered settlements on the few solid islands they could find. Life was harsh. They lived in simple huts, surviving by fishing and harvesting salt from the sea. They weren't architects or engineers. They were just desperate people trying to stay alive. The very water that protected them also threatened to swallow them whole. The ground was soft mud, the tides were relentless, and building anything substantial seemed like a fool's errand. How could you possibly lay a foundation in what was essentially a giant swamp? This is where the genius of the Venetians truly begins to shine. They didn't fight nature. They learned to work with it. They observed the tides, studied the currents, and understood the marshland's unique challenges. Their solution was as audacious as it was brilliant. They needed to create solid ground where there was none. So, they began to drive thousands upon thousands of wooden stakes, long poles made from alder trees, deep into the mud and sand. These tree trunks, packed tightly together, were driven down until they hit a much harder layer of clay beneath the soft silt. Now, you might think wood submerged in water would rot away quickly, but the Venetians discovered something amazing. Submerged in the oxygen-poor mud of the lagoon, the wood didn't rot. Instead, over time, it petrified, turning as hard as stone through constant contact with the mineral-rich water. They had essentially created an underwater forest of stone pillars. On top of these millions of stakes, they laid thick wooden platforms, and upon these platforms they began to build. First with wood, and then, as their confidence and wealth grew, with stone and marble. Every palace, every church, every single building in Venice rests on this incredible hidden foundation. The city didn't just appear. It was meticulously, painstakingly raised from the water, one pole at a time. It was a slow, generational effort. Each generation added a little more, pushed the boundaries a little further, and perfected the techniques of their ancestors. They dredged canals to control the flow of water, creating the famous waterways that serve as Venice's streets today. They learned to build boats perfectly suited for navigating these narrow canals, leading to the creation of the iconic gondola. What started as a desperate refuge for people running for their lives slowly transformed into a powerful maritime republic. The same sea that once isolated them became their highway to the world. Venetian merchants traveled to the far corners of the known world, bringing back immense wealth, exotic goods, and new ideas. This wealth funded the breathtaking art and architecture that we see today: the Doge's Palace, St. Mark's Basilica, and the countless palazzas lining the Grand Canal. Venice became a hub of culture, art, and commerce, a beacon of innovation and power. But it all comes back to that initial, crazy idea: the courage to look at an inhospitable swamp and see not an obstacle but an opportunity. The patience to drive millions of wooden poles into the mud, knowing they might not live to see the final result. The ingenuity to turn a weakness into a strength. The city of Venice is more than just a beautiful tourist destination. It's a monument to human resilience. It's a testament to the idea that with enough patience, collaboration, and a touch of madness, we can build the impossible. So, the next time you see a picture of a gondola gliding down a Venetian canal, remember the hidden forest beneath the water. Remember the refugees who fled in fear and built a city of hope. And remember that the most extraordinary things are often born from the most unlikely beginnings. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of incredible places and people. See you in the next video. Have you ever wondered how a city like Venice, with its magnificent palaces and stone churches, was built right in the middle of a saltwater lagoon. It seems impossible, right? A city of stone floating on water. Well, the secret lies hidden beneath the canals, a secret that's both an engineering marvel and a beautiful paradox of nature. The story of Venice's foundation is the story of an underwater forest. When the first settlers arrived in this marshy lagoon over 1,000 years ago, they faced a huge problem. The ground was soft mud and sand, totally unstable for building anything, let alone the grand structures we see today. So, how did they solve it? They came up with a brilliantly audacious plan. They decided to create a solid foundation by driving millions of wooden stakes or piles deep into the ground. Imagine the sheer scale of this operation. We're talking about millions upon millions of tree trunks. These weren't just any trees either. The Venetians were very specific. They needed strong, water-resistant wood. So, they sent expeditions far into the forests of modern-day Slovenia, Croatia, and Montenegro. They harvested vast quantities of oak, larch, and alder trees. These logs, some over 25 feet long, were then floated down rivers and across the Adriatic Sea all the way back to the lagoon. It was one of the largest deforestation and logistics operations of the medieval world. Once the piles arrived in Venice, the real work began. Workers would hammer these massive wooden stakes one by one, side by side, deep into the soft mud until they hit a much harder layer of compressed clay below, known as caranto. They packed them so densely that they essentially created a solid platform of petrified wood. On top of this wooden base, they laid thick planks of timber to form a raft-like platform. And only then, on top of all that wood, did they start laying the first stone foundations for their buildings. Every single building in Venice, from the humblest house to the grandest palace like the Doge's Palace, and even the iconic Rialto Bridge, rests on this hidden forest. Now you're probably thinking, wait a minute, wood rots, especially in water. And you'd be absolutely right under normal circumstances. If you put a piece of wood in a damp environment with plenty of oxygen, microbes will break it down in no time. But the secret to Venice's survival is what happens underwater. The wooden piles are submerged in the oxygen-poor mud of the lagoon. Without oxygen, the microorganisms that cause decay can't survive. But something even more incredible happens over time. The constant flow of salt water around the piles causes minerals to seep into the wood. Over centuries, this process of mineralization effectively petrifies the timber, turning it as hard as stone. So, paradoxically, the very water that seems to threaten the city is what has preserved its foundations for more than 1,000 years. The wood didn't rot. It became fossilized, creating a permanent and incredibly strong base. So, the next time you see a picture of Venice, or if you're lucky enough to walk its streets and cross its bridges, remember what you're standing on. Beneath your feet lies a hidden ancient forest, a testament to human ingenuity and the surprising forces of nature. The entire city, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is a floating masterpiece resting on the shoulders of millions of petrified trees. It's a city built on a paradox, a stone wonder supported by an invisible woodland kingdom. It truly is one of the most remarkable stories of civil engineering in human history. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations into the hidden wonders of our world. See you next time. Have you ever wondered what it's like to live in a city without roads? A place where the honk of a car horn is replaced by the gentle lapping of water, and where instead of hailing a taxi, you call for a water taxi. Welcome to Venice, the city built on water, a real-life fairy tale that has captivated travelers for centuries. The story of Venice is a story of incredible ingenuity and adaptation. Faced with a marshy lagoon, the early Venetians couldn't just pave streets and build highways like everyone else. Their solution was as radical as it was beautiful. They turned the waterways into their roads. The canals became the main arteries of the city, and the iconic gondolas and vaporettos became their cars and buses. Imagine your daily commute not stuck in traffic, but gliding smoothly across shimmering water, passing centuries-old palaces that seemed to rise directly from the lagoon. This unique foundation shaped every aspect of Venetian life. Instead of crossroads, they built over 400 bridges, each one a vantage point offering a new, breathtaking view of the city's aquatic maze. Instead of the constant rumble of traffic, the soundtrack of Venice is a symphony of splashing oars, the distant calls of gondoliers, and the gentle hum of boats navigating the narrow channels. It creates a sense of peace and tranquility that is almost impossible to find in any other major city in the world. Life here moves at a different pace, a rhythm dictated by the tides and the currents. Think about the daily routines. In the morning, you wouldn't see delivery trucks. You'd see delivery boats skillfully maneuvering through tight corners to bring fresh produce, mail, and supplies to shops and homes. The famous Rialto market isn't just next to the water. It's an integral part of the waterway, with barges and boats pulling up to sell the day's freshest catch. Even emergency services operate on water. Firefighters, police, and ambulances are all specially designed boats, ready to navigate the liquid streets at a moment's notice. It's a complete, self-contained world built on a different set of rules. At night, Venice transforms. The daytime bustle fades and a magical quiet descends upon the canals. The lights from palaces and restaurants shimmer and dance on the water's surface, creating a scene straight out of a painting. A quiet stroll along a deserted canal, with only the sound of your own footsteps and the soft murmur of the water, is an experience that stays with you forever. The absence of car headlights means the stars and the moon feel closer, and the ancient city seems to breathe around you. This quiet intimacy is the soul of Venice. It's a city that encouraged you to slow down, to get lost in its labyrinth of alleyways and canals, and to simply observe the timeless beauty that surrounds you. For centuries, this delicate balance of water, stone, and human life has made Venice a living masterpiece. It's a testament to human creativity and a reminder that sometimes the most challenging environments can inspire the most beautiful solutions. While it faces modern challenges like rising sea levels, the spirit of Venice endures. It remains a dreamlike city, a place where the past and present flow together as seamlessly as the water in its canals. It's a city that doesn't just exist on water. It lives and breathes with it. So, the next time you see a picture of a gondola gliding under the Bridge of Sighs, remember that it's more than just a tourist attraction. It's a symbol of a whole way of life. A beautiful, floating world that has defied convention for over 1,000 years. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the magical canals of Venice. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more stories from the most fascinating places on Earth. See you next time. Today, we're journeying to a city that seems to float on water, a place of breathtaking beauty and quiet resilience. Venice. When you picture Venice, what comes to mind? Gondolas gliding through serene canals, stunning Renaissance architecture, romantic bridges. It's a dream, right? But beneath this picture-perfect surface lies a constant, silent struggle. A battle against the very element that gives the city its magic, the water. Venice might look calm and peaceful, but it's always been in a state of delicate tension. Imagine the city as a living, breathing organism, with the tides of the Adriatic Sea acting as its pulse. Twice a day, every day, the tide pushes water into the Venetian lagoon and pulls it back out. It's a natural rhythm, but one that carries an ever-present threat. For centuries, this rhythm has shaped Venetian life, a constant reminder of the sea's power. But it's not just the daily tides. When storms brew in the Adriatic, they send powerful waves, known as sirocco winds, crashing towards the city. These aren't gentle ripples. They're surges of raw, untamed nature. And then there's the infamous acqua alta, or high water. This happens when a combination of high tides, strong winds, and low atmospheric pressure causes the sea level to rise dramatically. When the acqua alta hits, the sea doesn't just lap at the edges of the city it pours in. Suddenly, the charming St. Mark's Square, one of the lowest points in Venice, transforms into a vast, shallow lake. Water creeps into ancient churches, flooding priceless mosaics and marble floors. It seeps into ground-floor homes and shops, causing damage and disruption. For outsiders, it's a shocking sight. For Venetians, it's a recurring reality they've had to learn to live with. It's a relentless, never-ending battle to keep their city from being swallowed by the sea. So how have they survived? How has this improbable city, built on a foundation of mud and wood, endured for over 1,000 years? The answer lies in the incredible ingenuity and perseverance of its people. From the very beginning, Venetians were master engineers. They built their city on millions of wooden piles driven deep into the marshy ground, creating a solid, underwater forest that supports the magnificent buildings we see today. To combat the daily threat of flooding, they developed a whole system of defenses. You'll see massive stone barriers, called murazzi, built along the seaward side of the lagoon, acting as the city's first line of defense against the open sea. Throughout the city, you'll notice raised walkways, or passerelle, that can be quickly assembled when the acqua alta arrives, allowing people to navigate the flooded streets and continue with their daily lives. It's a pragmatic, almost elegant solution to a massive problem, but it's a constant effort. The foundations of the buildings need continuous repair. Canals have to be dredged. The historic structures, soaked repeatedly in salt water, are in a perpetual state of restoration. It's a costly, labor-intensive fight that has been passed down through generations. It's a testament to their dedication that the city still stands. And this is what I find most fascinating about Venice. This struggle isn't just about engineering and construction. It's woven into the very fabric of the Venetian identity. Living with the water has cultivated a unique kind of patience, a quiet strength. There's an acceptance of nature's power, not a surrender to it, but a willingness to adapt, to coexist. They don't fight the water with brute force. They dance with it respectfully. This relationship with the sea has shaped their character, fostering a deep sense of community and a long-term perspective. When your home has been in a slow, centuries-long battle with the elements, you learn to think in terms of generations, not just years. You learn to work together, to be resilient, and to find beauty not in a perfect, unchanging world, but in one that is constantly in flux. So, the next time you see a photo of Venice with its tranquil canals and timeless beauty, remember the story beneath the surface. Remember the daily tides, the storm surges, and the silent, unyielding spirit of a people who chose to build their dream on water, and have been defending it with quiet courage ever since. It's a powerful lesson in resilience, adaptation, and the enduring human spirit. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this story of Venice as captivating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more journeys into the heart of our world's most incredible places. See you next time. For over 1,000 years, Venice was one of the wealthiest and most powerful places on Earth, a tiny city, built on mudflats in a swampy lagoon that somehow grew to command a vast maritime empire. How did they do it? The secret isn't just about trade or naval power. It's about their incredible mastery over the very thing that threatened to destroy them, the water. Imagine trying to build a city on what is essentially a marsh. The ground is unstable, the tides are a constant threat, and the whole area is slowly silting up. For most, this would be a nightmare. For the Venetians, it was an opportunity. They didn't fight the water, they learned to dance with it. This relationship with the sea became the foundation of their entire civilization. From the very beginning, they knew their survival depended on keeping the lagoon healthy. The biggest threat wasn't a foreign navy, but sediment. Rivers flowing into the lagoon were constantly dumping silt, threatening to turn their watery home into a muddy swamp, making it impossible for their ships to navigate. So what did they do? Something absolutely audacious. Over centuries, they launched massive engineering projects to literally redirect entire rivers, like the Brenta and the Piave, forcing them to bypass the lagoon and empty directly into the Adriatic Sea. Think about the scale of that, undertaking in an age without modern machinery. It required incredible foresight, immense resources, and a deep, scientific understanding of hydrology that was unparalleled in Europe. They were terraforming on a grand scale, all to protect their unique city. This wasn't a one-time fix. It was a constant, ongoing effort managed by a specialized government body called the Magistrato agli Acque, or the Water Magistrate, established way back in the 16th century. But redirecting rivers was only part of the solution. They also had to manage the intricate network of channels within the lagoon itself. The Venetians became masters of hydrodynamics. They built submerged walls, known as murazzi, using stone and pilings driven deep into the seabed. These weren't just random barriers. They were carefully designed to guide the currents. They acted like underwater shepherds, steering the flow of water to flush out sediment from some areas and keep vital shipping lanes deep and clear. They essentially sculpted the lagoon from below. They would deepen certain channels to create aquatic highways for their galleys and merchant ships, and strategically close off others to control the flow and prevent silting. It was a delicate, precise art. Their engineers would study the tides, the currents, and the sediment patterns with an obsessive level of detail. They knew that a small change in one part of the lagoon could have dramatic, unintended consequences elsewhere. This constant maintenance, this careful stewardship, preserved the delicate equilibrium between land and sea. It's what allowed Venice to remain a thriving port, safe from both the encroaching land and the angry sea, for a millennium. While other European cities built massive stone walls to protect against armies, Venice's greatest defenses were invisible, hidden beneath the waves. Their walls were made of water and wisdom. This incredible story of engineering isn't just ancient history. The challenges Venice faced centuries ago, rising sea levels, a changing environment, are the same challenges many coastal cities face today. The legacy of the Venetian engineers is a powerful reminder that sometimes the most brilliant solutions come not from conquering nature, but from understanding and working with it. Their city, a jewel box floating on the water, stands as a testament to centuries of human ingenuity. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this journey into Venice's hidden engineering fascinating, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about how we've shaped our world. See you in the next one. Imagine a city built on water, a maze of canals where gondolas glide instead of cars. This is Venice, a city that has defied the sea for over 1,000 years. But what if I told you this floating marvel is sinking? The very water that gives Venice its magic now threatens to swallow it whole. How did this happen? And more importantly, can this iconic city be saved before it disappears beneath the waves? For centuries, Venice was a master of the sea. Its founders, fleeing invaders, cleverly built their homes on a foundation of millions of wooden stakes driven deep into the mud of a marshy lagoon. This ingenious engineering created a stable base, allowing a glorious city to rise from the water. For a long time, this system worked beautifully. The city thrived, becoming a powerful maritime republic, a center of art, culture, and trade. But the delicate balance between the city and the sea was about to be broken. The trouble really began in the 20th century. To fuel its growing industries, Venice started pumping massive amounts of groundwater from beneath the lagoon. Think of it like drinking from a straw under a big pile of sand. As the water was removed, the ground above it, the very foundation of Venice, began to compact and sink. This process, called subsidence, caused the city to drop steadily. At the same time, a new global threat was emerging: climate change. As the planet warms, glaciers melt and sea levels rise, pushing more and more water into the Venetian lagoon. The combination was disastrous. The beautiful squares, like the famous Piazza San Marco, began to flood with alarming regularity. This phenomenon, known as acqua alta or high water, went from a rare inconvenience to a frequent disruptive event. The salt water crept into historic buildings, corroding the ancient brickwork and damaging priceless art. The weight of modern buildings and the constant churn from boat traffic, including massive cruise ships, only made the fragile foundations weaker. The old methods of managing the water, the same ones that had worked for centuries, were simply no longer enough. The city that had mastered the sea was now at its mercy. Venice was facing a stark choice: innovate and adapt, or face a watery grave. Faced with this existential threat, Italy embarked on one of the most ambitious and controversial engineering projects in modern history, the MOSE project. The name stands for Experimental Electromechanical Module, but it's also a clever nod to Moses, who parted the Red Sea. The plan was audacious: to build a series of massive, retractable floodgates at the three inlets where the Adriatic Sea enters the Venetian lagoon. When the tide threatens to rise to dangerous levels, these enormous steel barriers, usually hidden on the seafloor, can be raised with compressed air. They form a temporary dam, holding back the sea and protecting the city from flooding. After decades of construction, delays, and ballooning costs, MOSE was finally activated in 2020, and it worked. The barriers have successfully protected Venice from several major floods, keeping its streets and squares dry when they would have otherwise been underwater. However, the story doesn't end there. MOSE is a powerful shield, but it's not a permanent cure. As sea levels continue their relentless rise, the barriers will need to be raised more and more often. This raises new concerns. Closing the lagoon too frequently could disrupt its delicate ecosystem, harming the marine life and potentially turning the vibrant lagoon into a stagnant pond. Venice's fight for survival is a powerful lesson for coastal cities all over the world. It shows that with human ingenuity we can hold back the tide, but we must also address the root causes of climate change. The future of Venice and countless other places like it depends not just on massive walls of steel, but on our collective will to protect our planet. The floating city is safe for now, but its long, complicated dance with the sea is far from over. Thanks for watching. If you found this story fascinating, please like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into our incredible world. For centuries, Venice has been a city living on a knife's edge, a breathtaking paradox built on water. Its beauty is matched only by its fragility, constantly threatened by the very sea that gave it life. The regular flooding, known as acqua alta, has been a part of Venetian life for as long as anyone can remember. Locals would put on their rubber boots, businesses would set up temporary barriers, and life would go on. But in recent decades, the floods became more frequent, more severe, and more damaging. The city that had defied the odds for over a millennium was facing a real existential threat. Was Venice destined to be swallowed by the Adriatic? The world watched, holding its breath. Then, in the early 2000s, an idea that seemed almost as ambitious as building the city itself began to take shape. It was a project of monumental scale, born from a desperate need to protect a global treasure. They called it MOSE, which stands for Experimental Electromechanical Module. It's also a clever nod to Moses, who parted the Red Sea. The plan was audacious: to build a series of massive, mobile floodgates at the three inlets that connect the Venetian lagoon to the Adriatic Sea. These gates would lie flat on the seabed, invisible until they were needed. The journey to build MOSE was as turbulent as the waters it was designed to control. The project spanned nearly 2 decades, a marathon of engineering challenges, political debates, and staggering costs that spiraled into the billions. There were scandals, delays, and moments when it seemed the entire endeavor might collapse under its own weight. Critics questioned its effectiveness, its environmental impact, and its astronomical price tag. Could this really be the answer? Or was it just a fantastically expensive gamble? For years, the project was a symbol of both hope and controversy. Engineers and workers toiled, pouring concrete on the seafloor, forging immense steel barriers, and designing a complex system of hydraulics and compressed air. Each gate is a hollow steel box, roughly the size of a 5-story building laid on its side. The concept is elegantly simple in theory, but incredibly complex in execution. When a dangerously high tide is forecast, compressed air is pumped into the gates, forcing out the water inside. This makes them buoyant, allowing them to pivot on their hinges and rise from the depths, forming a continuous barrier that holds back the sea. It's a colossal ballet of steel and water, a high-tech fortress rising from the deep. Finally, in the autumn of 2020, the moment of truth arrived. A major storm surge was predicted, one that would have normally inundated St. Mark's Square and flooded homes and ancient basilicas. The city held its collective breath. The command was given, and for the first time in a real emergency, the 78 gates of the MOSE system began to rise. Slowly, majestically, these giant yellow shields emerged from the murky lagoon waters. On one side, the Adriatic raged, pushed by powerful winds. On the other, inside the lagoon, the water level remained steady. Venice stayed dry. The system worked. Today, when the siren wails to warn of acqua alta, there's a new sense of calm. The gates rise, a modern miracle protecting an ancient one. Venice, the city that has cheated nature for 1,500 years, has once again found a way to survive. It didn't conquer the sea with force, but with ingenuity, patience, and a stubborn refusal to surrender. The MOSE project is more than just an engineering feat. It is a testament to the enduring spirit of a city that has always lived in a delicate dance with the sea and has just learned a beautiful new step. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.